Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Fossil. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first fossil. Hello and welcome to First Fossil, a show where we learn together how to take that first fossil toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and guys, this series has been emotional to go through. If you didn't know, first off, welcome to First Fossil. If this is your first time listening, we're actually in the middle of a series right now about how to unlock the greatness within and being extraordinary and uncommon. The first key that we talked about was acknowledgement. The second was desire. And the third from last week was fighting for our breakthrough to find out who we actually are on the other side of our perceived selves. And when I say this has been, man, the emotions that have come with going through this, it's truly beautiful being reminded of the journey that I went on. I look back and I think, man, I can't believe I lived a life for so long believing these lies over myself. And some of them I held on to because they made me both feel better and worse, which sounds crazy. And at the same time, we all have done this before. And so being able to be reminded of the journey I fought for, the hope of wondering if I could be better, I could be loved, I could be cherished, I could be worth the breath in my lungs in this world, just out of curiosity. My fight to find out was so worth it. And that's why I felt like I had to share this with you guys. I had to unveil this mystery, this journey, and the keys that unlocked the doors through each and every step of the process. I can't keep this to myself. I want to share it with the world. And so I'm sharing it with you guys. So if you haven't gone back to listen to the first key, go back and do that. And then walk yourself through these next few keys, because this is not something that's going to just take 5 weeks. Yes, there are 5 keys, but this is a journey. And honestly, it's a journey that could take a lifetime, not in the sense that you can't have your breakthrough, because I had my breakthrough 2 years ago, and I haven't gone back since in believing those lies. But even after your breakthrough, you'd be surprised how there are still things as you get older and as you just process through life that come up that you didn't consider before your breakthrough. And so, yeah, you just have this eternal opportunity to unlock more and more greatness that is within inside of yourself. So if you're on this journey or if you're contemplating it, I am very proud of you. So let's talk about this fourth key. What is this fourth key to unlocking your greatness and being extraordinary and uncommon? Well, our first one was acknowledgement, like we said, then desire or hope. Then it was the fight for this breakthrough to truly happen and be holistically healing. And then Key number 4, embrace it. What are we embracing? We have to be willing to embrace the truths that we discover. You can't just see the truths about yourself or about your circumstances. You can't just look at the root of your tree or of this weed, if you will, and then not claim them as truth. Because then that defeats the purpose of this entire process. Claiming the truth, even if it's something that you would have never, ever, ever thought to be true, something that you would have never considered true, something that your pride would have said, absolutely not. There's no way, I'm not receiving that. I'm not even going to take that into consideration. Even those things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, claiming every truth that you discover for the purpose of healing and being unlocked and released into your truest self. Claiming those truths will take also discovering those lies. And that's even the lies that you feel validated in why you feel or think a certain way towards yourself or others or various circumstances the way that you do. Claiming the truth will provide you with so much freedom to truly live, not a filtered version of living, not a facade of living, actually living. Once you receive those truths and embrace them, that's when we get to talk about key number 5, which we're not going to get into today. But I want to share with you a little bit of what it was like for me to embrace the truths. I remember each year there was a different truth that was unlocked for me. And it was interesting, to say the least. All the different truths that I journeyed through and had to process each year, there was something different. There were some truths that I discovered about myself and about my circumstances that I had to sit in. And my friends always hear me say, I need to marinate in that. Because it's so easy to see it and just be like, ugh, no, that can't be true. And reject some of those things. Reject the truth. Embrace the lie. Simply because the lie is what's quote unquote sustained us for so long. And the validation is so strong. It feels quote unquote comfortable. But I had decided that I wanted to get uncomfortable. That I needed to get uncomfortable because the comfort of the lies in my life were eating me inside and I didn't want that anymore. So I figured, let me get uncomfortable in seeing the truth. And this is what I meant by last weekend, fighting no matter what it means, no matter what it takes, because there is so much discomfort in this process that you have to be willing to lean into. There's so many things that you're going to have to choose to do differently. Ways that you thought, ways that you catered to life, ways that you processed things. You're going to have to not do the same thing expecting a different result. So when I leaned into my discomfort of wondering if maybe what I'd been thinking and believing within myself wasn't all true, and maybe even some of the things that others were saying about me were or weren't true, depending on what those things were. When I was willing to do that, I discovered some really cool things. I realized that my trauma nor my failures define me when I truly thought that they did. Instead, I realized that I wasn't defined by them, but rather shaped by them. And I was and have been able to connect with people from all walks of life, from all over the world, in various socioeconomic brackets that speak different languages. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm thankful for my traumas and my failures, because there's just some things that I don't think I would have been able to notice about other people had I not gone through those experiences and healed from them. Because not only can I see and recognize trauma and embarrassment from failure in others, but I also have keys on how they can overcome and be empowered despite those things. So that was one thing that I had learned. I also learned that I'm not a burden. I always thought that I was a burden to my family. I thought that one day I would become a burden to whoever I get married to for a variety of reasons. And I was mentally preparing myself to be this forever burden, no matter what I did to alleviate the burden that I saw myself to be on others. The feeling of being a burden never went away until I was willing to release that thought that it wasn't potentially true. Turns out it wasn't true at all. And it's funny, people always told me this. They told me that I wasn't a burden. I just didn't believe it or see it to be true. And I finally did. And now I'm free to not be a burden on anyone. For me, I cast my burdens on Jesus, and he can handle my burdens. So it's nice to know that anything that I feel burdened about, I can give that over to someone who can handle it. I also learned that I'm not by myself in this world, and I don't have to figure everything out on my own. That's why I had mentors and coaches and confidants and trusted friends, family, pastors that I could journey through this world with and not, again, feel burdened for asking my questions and wanting to be edified and grow because of their wisdom and knowledge outside of my own thought process. And one of my favorite lessons that I learned was that I don't have to walk in fear and anxiety about my life, but I can and now fully do possess complete joy to celebrate the life that I have been blessed to live. I would have never, I'm not joking, I would have never discovered these things about myself had I not gone on the journey to acknowledge the things that were holding me back, to desire for something more, to fight for that more, no matter what it took, and then embracing the truths that I didn't even think were possible, even though people had been screaming these things in my ears for so long, hoping that I would eventually see it for myself. And it took a lot of surrender. I had to surrender all of that. I had to surrender anything that I thought was a failure. I had to surrender any fears, any sense of feeling inadequate. I had to just surrender everything to the process. I surrendered everything to God. I even fasted and prayed for all of 2020, even though my breakthrough happened a third way into the year. But I needed it. I needed to let go. I needed to surrender. I needed to drop the things that I was gripping tightly to just for my own comfort. And I had to be willing to drop it all and say, you know what, Candace? There's more. There's greater. And you deserve that. You deserve to find out the truth. So I share that with you because it is hard. There's some pills that are really hard to swallow when you encounter them. And you're going to notice that your pride is shot over and over and over again in this process. Let me tell you, you want to be humbled for real? Find out the truth. Find out the truth about your circumstances. Be willing to stand in the shoes of others that you really didn't want to stand in the shoes of. Be willing to sit in the circumstances that you really didn't want to sit in. Be willing to sit in the alternative options outside of the ones that are replayed in your mind over and over and over to say, this is how I can validate my life. Just be willing to let go. Drop everything, put it all out on the table, and go through that process. Again, if you need someone to help you go through that process, someone who has done it successfully, consistently, and has helped others do the same, hit me up. I would honestly love to walk you through this process and make it a tailor-made situation. You gotta know who you truly are. It's hard to embrace your purpose without fully healing. Not that you couldn't, but why not embrace your purpose, your calling in life, without the weight of feeling like you don't deserve to even have purpose? You deserve it. And there's purpose with your name on it. It's totally time for you to unlock that greatness. If you're going through this series and you're taking your time to really process everything, I'm really proud of you. This is not easy, man. But let me tell you, when you reach that breakthrough, you will realize that this journey is the hardest thing you would have ever loved to do. There's nothing better than this. You get to live free. You get to truly breathe. If you think you're breathing now, man, wait till that day when that final chain breaks off of you. I remember the morning when that last chain broke off of me, and I wept. I wept so hard. My friend Candace, who was in episode 8, called Sexual Healing, highly recommend her episode. She was on the phone with me. She, in fact, was the person that walked me towards that last chain and helped break it off me. It was the most beautiful moment of my life to date. Not only recognizing the truth, but embracing it and loving all of me in one moment in a way that I never did before. And I breathed in so heavily and said, Candace, sis, I think I just breathed for the first time in my whole life. I didn't realize that I had been holding my breath for 30 years. And now I breathe deeply every day. Nothing holds me back. I'm willing to go on that journey with you. So if you need help, if you don't want to do it alone, know that I will push you. As a coach, I will push you in full love and determination and belief that you've got this. There's some parts that'll be painful. Some parts that'll be overwhelming. But you just be one step closer to breathing and living a truly fulfilled, free life. So let's go on that journey together, whether it's through this podcast or one-on-one coaching. Or maybe if there's a group of you that are listening to this podcast and you guys want to get together in a group and do group coaching with me, let's do it. Let's do it together. I would love to go on this journey. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. If there are any topics of interest, anything that you want to address on this podcast that you are trying to figure out, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, go to my website at www.firstpaso.com. You can fill out the guest form. You can send me a message there if you just have questions, or you can go on my social media at Candace Olushala, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things. Or you can email me at hola@firstpaso.com, text me at 859-800-3396, however you can reach me. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. However you want to do that. Go ahead. I would love to hear from you, truly. All right, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Enjoy this journey. God bless, and we'll talk soon. Love you guys. Bye.